All right, the sign has appeared, Gareth. The red dot is in position, and it means we're live and we're direct. So first and foremost, good morning, and thank you so much for saying yes to becoming a guest of Coffee with Kofi. How are you today, my man?
I'm very well. And yourself, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It's one of those mornings where I had a plan to move the body. I didn't know what it was that I was going to do, and I end up opting for a run. It was not a personal best. It was not epic, but you know how we do. We get it done. We get it done, you know?
Getting it done, that's the main plan.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm glad that you're good too. So before we start, I mean, I know you know a bit about the premise of this, which is all about sharing the stories from leaders from around the world who have taken an unconventional path and pivoted on a purpose that's meaningful to them, their families, the wider community, and indeed the world. So it's all about sharing insights from your journey. It's a nice, chilled, relaxed vibe. But before we start, I wondered if it would be okay to do a short introduction and then you can fact check me on this. Is that all right?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right. No lies will be told. So I hope you're ready.
Never let the truth get away with a good story.
That's it. There's also that. There's also that. So today I am super excited to introduce my good friend Gareth Dauley, who is an award-winning CEO and managing director with over 15 years and counting experience in clean energy and also energy storage. The founder and chief executive of the KOE Group, which is a company, if you don't know, you better get to know, that delivers innovative and financeable renewable energy solutions by solar and energy storage to global markets. Gareth will tell you more, but is a man who is passionate about creating a greener, more sustainable world and leaving a lasting legacy that will be in place for our future generations. Not only that, a father of two and husband to Alex Dauley. And if you haven't come across Alex and you need any sort of interior design, she is the who's who up there in terms of Black excellence when it comes to interior design. I would say Gareth is more dashing than Denzel and more impactful than Idris. And I'm just delighted to have you on board. Massive welcome. Thanks once again.
No, that was amazing. I feel quite humble now, in a way, saying that. So, but thank you.
No, I told no lies. I told no lies. And I think whether I've met you on a more informal basis inside out at the pop-up or more formally at the House of Lords, you know, the energy doesn't lie, is my view. And you are, as I say, impactful, but also dashing. And yeah, Alex is lucky to have you.
Lucky to have her.
Good man. All right. So yeah, for anyone that hasn't had the chance to meet you or hear your story, because I know you've done a number of these before, just spreading the good word. Please, can we start with some context, which is, I guess, when, where, and to whom were you born?
So, great question. So I was born in South London. You always say South because that's true Londoners. In a council estate. Had siblings, basically a single parent family. And always had a passion for just doing something a bit different to my peers and to my friends. As I kind of grew, I had some pivotal moments where I could go one way or the other, like a sliding doors moment. One was into the gang route and the other one's into professional route. Now, at the time, I'm a first round the immigration type of thing. My mum come from Jamaica. Both her parents come from Jamaica. All we saw in front of us was like public service jobs. And so like my father, he railways and Royal Mail, all his life. Mother, basically looking after the kids or a nurse. That was it. So it was always public service. And my siblings were all into the public service as well, like teaching and all this kind of stuff. And it never really kind of floated my boat. So I always looked for a different path, and going through life, you know, council estate is actually really good fun and a life that would make a lot of people jealous. You know, there was a highs and lows of like the NF and the kind of what we're going through now in society. But the highs are just having a group of friends that, you know, we wasn't attached to our phones. We could just go out and play and just be kids. So that was fantastic. And I think as I kind of went through school, I kind of excelled in business, maths, and I didn't know how to channel that into anything. So I ended up going into college. College, enjoyed myself, really interesting setting. So I would, I'm in South London, so South Hills, we kind of grew up. And
near Wandsworth,
oh yeah, Wandsworth. So I was a Wandsworth boy. So people are like, oh my god, that's really, really posh and cool. It was like back in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't, not so much kind of thing. So, but then I went to Richmond College, and that really opened up my eyes, because that was a complete demographic to what I was used to. And I had some inspiring characters around me to go, actually, what do I want to do post college? And it was, right, let's go to university. I don't know what it's about. I can't really call them cousins or siblings and stuff like that to say what this journey is about. But yeah, I went down that pathway, and then I went to university in Southampton, again, where we was one of the first, I think, part of the African and Caribbean society. It was like 10 of us in the whole of Southampton. It felt like. But then we started the garage scene, and Craig David was in Southampton at the time as well. So it was all of these, and Pied Piper, and so it was like really cool to kind of develop into a unique type of person that had these roots, same as lots of my friends, but kind of just gone down a different pathway. And that's where I kind of, post university was like, well, what do I do? And it was, you just don't know what you want to do. Anyone at 5 years old or 15 or even 20 says that they know what to do is lying, in my opinion, because you got to find a passion. So one of my passions, and one of the skills that has translated from my life, is turning a complex conversation to simplification and making multiple stakeholders understand. So it kind of led me down the sales path, and that's where I went down into kind of doing some sales work or various stuff, and then got into energy trading, commodity trading, that turned into energy trading, which turned into working for, and a little break in between that. Parallel to that path at university, I found the love of American football. So I done that, really enjoyed it at university. So outside, we started playing for UK teams. I was fortunate enough to get into the NFL trials, which was amazing. And then, so I took that as professionally as far as I could go. And then, I met my wife, and, I had the option when I got to the NFL. They said, oh, you can go play in Europe. Here's a European contract. It wasn't a lot of money, but if I was 21, I would have taken it. But at 26, 27, it was like a bit risky, got a mortgage, got a baby on the way. And so decided to kind of take a step back and play it at a very high level when, winning European championships with UK teams, but focused on business. And that was my thing, business, and worked for a massive engineering firm called Honeywell, where I led their European smart grid, smart city. And what it was kind of going, Gareth, you know how to trade, but we need to know how you can use instruments in your house to trade energy or in the buildings. And it was like, we don't have the skill sets within our organization. We need to bring external people in to kind of go reimagine how this could be, talk to people. And that's what we did. And then from there, I done my first startup. So I went from a massive corporate where I was, Golden Circle, which is like, the best salespeople, to a startup where there was 4 of us sitting around a desk, and massive contrast. And the company was called Lime Jump. It was an energy trading company, and eventually got sold to Shell, which was fantastic. And then I started my consultancy career, worked with some of the energy networks in the UK and around the world. Also started my own development business to build, own, maintain, and sell basically renewable energy assets. That company got bought by an American company, which I was senior vice president for. And then, now I'm back on my own journey of trying to build assets. So it's energy infrastructure and digital infrastructure. So to the unknown, that's basically solar, battery, and data centers. That's what I'm trying to build now.
That is incredible. And how you've managed to distill over 20 years in such a whistle stop but yet impactful way, I don't know, but credit to you and kudos. And there's so many things that you've talked about in there that I'd love to delve into.
Absolutely.
And one of them for me is really, there's finding your path and the parallels with sport and excelling at something, it really speaks to me in the way that when I talk to other leaders, sometimes the route's not linear, you know, it's really not linear, but I've really come to see there's this commonality in terms of how you do anything can be how you do everything. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So going down, that's a very good question. So as a young boy, I played a lot of cricket. That was my first passion, you know, Caribbean parents kind of thing. And I got to a very high level until the South London and me came out. So the incident happened at Lords. We was playing at like a county cup final. I thought I was Curtly Ambrose. So I was bouncing this guy from up north and sledging. So sledging is just, you know, passing each other, which is fine. You know, you can take that. I can take that all day long. Sticks and stones, all of that kind of stuff. But then he crossed as I kind of bounced him one time, and I said that, you know, he's a little mama's boy or something. I can't remember. This was many, many years ago when I was much more aggressive. He hit me with his bat, and I was like, I ain't taking that. And I literally, we had a scrap on the pitch, and I got banned from playing cricket, basically. So, but it was a life lesson. Do you know what I mean? It's in terms of controlling your passion, controlling your what you need to do. But that's where the American football, I loved it so much, because what people see is this kind of high impact sport, you know, this, that, and the other. But what it is an actual game of chess with men, and it's about physically peaking performance and tweaking all of the areas, and there's always pathways of the least resistance kind of thing. And so for my team, the London Blitz, I don't know if I still am, but I was like the leading touchdown scorer or point scorer in the club's history. And it was because we all worked, we kind of gelled at one point, and it was all of these guys come together to perform at a peak time together. And there's no better feeling that you've getting a high performance team working with you. Now, I've tried to translate that into business, and my management style has changed massively from playing with sports, because not everyone responds in the same way. So I can shout at certain people and I'll get a response, but other people, I've got to speak gently. Now, with neurodiversity within the workplace and the different skill sets, I've had to learn how to approach these different people, but still getting the same message. And that's been a learned, number one, but number two, it's just, you kind of take it in a situation of, you know, you've got certain players that can do certain things, other players that do other things. Don't expect all players to do the same things, but you've got to treat them differently. But at the same time, as a visionary and as a leader, you've got to make sure that they lead to that pinnacle goal, and that is the score, or that is the win.
That is never a truer word have I heard in business. You know, because from me, what I'm hearing in there is recognition. That's the big word. It's recognition of the diversity of thought, background, whatever it could be. You know, any number of characteristics that differentiate us to a degree. But then understanding, maybe I want to impress this, but the different motivations or the different ways in which you can get people towards that goal, that vision. And that could be, you know, for some people it's intrinsic, some people it's extrinsic. You know, it's telling everybody that, yeah, you know, Jason has done a spectacular job and they feel proud about that. For others, it's just more autonomy. So you did well with this, let me get you over here to do some more of that. How does that sound? And working together. So that recognition piece, and I think understanding your team is incredible. And you said something about learning, and I don't want this all to be about woohoo, Gareth woke up one day and there he was running things. Like, that's not the truth. But you talked about learning. I think it'd be really good to delve into some of the biggest learns that you had as it relates to building the right team around you, because that's, to me, it feels like it's not a one and done scenario. You move one, do you know what I mean? So if you could talk a bit about the things that you've learned about building the right team, that would be really, really helpful, actually.
Teams are difficult, very, very difficult. I think I'll give you some examples. How I learned. So when I was at Lime Jump, we were a plucky young startup with not a lot of money. So the kind of talent that we wanted to attract, we couldn't, because we just couldn't pay enough. So I was speaking to the other directors, and I was like, look, I'm about process. If you know the process, it's about, I can't teach you the process, but I can adapt you to my market. So it's like, right, let's find people with the skill set in other industries and bring them across and going, right, you're not here to do what you did before. You're here to, that is your core, but we want you to learn more and learn about this and how to adapt that process to this industry. So it's taking best practices from different industries into ours. That was a challenge, because it was like, I don't know nothing about energy. When you go to recruiters, they was like, well, this is an energy person, he's come from that background. But it's like, look, we're creating something brand new here. So we want an unbiased conscience of how people think about things to bring them in, so we can create something different that is going to disrupt the market. Now, management style, and I'll say from the startup and from a corporates, from a startup point of view, there was no money. So when we're fighting against companies like Google and Amazon, where they're giving free food, free taxis home, blah, 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 it's like, we're not even competing. However, I was like, it was one of the things I love to do was on a Friday afternoon, it was, look, whoever makes the most phone calls, or in the sales team, because I led the sales and commercial, it was like whoever makes a phone or closes a deal, they'll get 250 or 200 quid, just cash, just to go and treat themselves for that night. But you get to nominate someone else from the engineering team to do that with. So it's kind of building bonds to go, it's not just, only the sales team get rewarded. It's like the sales team has to build a bond with the engineers, because when the chips are down, we're all got to get stuck in. But it kind of just created that bond. And I've taken a lot of these techniques from my American football days, where you've got the high skill positions, us running backs and wide receivers and quarterbacks, versus the hard nose, our offensive line that just literally butt heads all day. And it's like, you got to treat them like your brothers, but at the same time, we're not doing the same stuff. But if we win, if we get a reward from here, we got to share it with someone else, or we share it with someone in your defense that are doing such a great job. And that was the kind of methodology, and it worked, kind of thing. And it built a plucky environment, because there is different types of people, but it's like, I don't mind having a few lone wolves as long as they perform, but lone wolves destroy companies. I'd rather have the people that can adapt to the environment, so we can build on the foundations that we've got. And they may not be perfect, but we're bringing them in to kind of go, you know what, if you just do this or tweak this makes it better. So it gives them incentive to kind of go, you've got ownership of developing this out. Because no one's the finished product, but at the same time, it's like we always can be learning. And the old adage is, I'd rather hire a hard worker, because when hard work works hard, but if talent is there but they don't work hard, I'm take the hard work all day, because they will make it work.
That is powerful stuff, and I think, I don't know what's going on here, but the older, no, I'm scrap that, not the older, I don't like that word, it's a hot word for me. The more experience I get in life, the more I see and hear about the interconnectivity that follow us. So when you talk about the team cohesion in the corporate setting, rewarding someone with £200 the same, you got to bring someone from, in my mind, engineering, which could be seen as the defense. They're not going to score a touchdown. Bring them along and create bonds. And you relate that to what you learn in American football. I just see the real power in diversity of thought coming together to really fuel innovation. And it bugs me so much when I hear from people who say, I can't get a job because the job says you must have done this, and this. Because as you pointed to, the mindset, the attitude, the approach, as long as there's growth mindset within all of that and a willingness to work hard to get forward, you could teach most people most things, right? Within reason. Yeah. So it's testament to you and your approach and bringing that sports in, which is I'm gonna have to sit on this one a bit more, because there's something in this, that cross-pollination of ideas that and
so I tell you one of the tricks I used to do. So there's a simple stick trick that I show you, and I'll show you in real life one time, where you've got there's a puzzle in front of you. So I was doing so many interviews at the time, so I had to kind of get people out quickly. So there's a puzzle in front of you, and I was like, right, this is an interview. start talking about what they want to do, and then play, this is a puzzle, do it at the same time. And I wanted to see how people react to pressure moments in those spots, because I had people breaking down in tears in front of me because they're like, I can't do this. I can only do one thing at a time. I can't talk. And things like, look, sometimes I'm working to 2, 3 a.m. in the morning because of these situations that I don't know, but I'm just trying to figure it out. And that's what you want you to do, figure it out. And it broke. So it basically made, it cut my interviewing time down by half, because if they were too focused on one thing and not the other, I needed specialist generalists at the time. Like when I need a specialist, I need a specialist. But it was just a way to say, look, I'm going to confuse your brain waves. This is not going to be an ordinary. People hated it. So, the feedback I got from my recruiters was like, oh, they hated it. You couldn't do that. They feel it's unfair. It's like, this is life. They've got a half an hour window. This is the first impressions. I'm not asking them to do, it's a simple puzzle, but I'm not asking them to solve it. I'm asking them to try. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, some people were so focused on, I have to make this work, rather than I want to talk and try and do something. I can move a few things around. It may not work, but do you know what? He saw me trying. But it was the kind of, how did they adapt to these pressure situations? And that was the main thing for doing that kind of stuff.
Really, really good tip there. That's an excellent tip. And something that comes to my mind off the back of that is the role of unconscious bias in interviews. There's those that work in talent acquisition, executive search, like I did many moons ago, or not that long ago, but we can historically be the gatekeepers into companies, but then you've got yourself as a leader hiring people for your team, etc. Have you ever hired someone not based on technical merit, but because they came from South London, or they supported the same team as you, or there was something that connected you that wasn't about the technicalities of the role?
Yes. So at Pacific Green, we had, I had to hire a sales team there to kind of sell batteries and stuff like that. It wasn't the kind of role that I was trying to do, but it was interesting. But what it was is, talking to the boss, he was like, Gareth, who are we selling to? And I was like, funds. He says like, right, we'll get someone that can talk fund language. And it was like, so I didn't know nothing about what they do. Technically wise, I'm like, yeah, but people came through the door and it was like, yeah, I sell batteries, I sell this, I sell that. It's like, great, but actually I don't want that skill set. I want someone that knows the mindset of the people that will buy this kind of stuff.
Right.
So the first people come through and it was reject. But then there's one person come through and I was like, do you know what? You don't know nothing about this industry, renewables whatsoever, but you know how to talk to the people that I need you to get in front of. Right. And it was that simple. And it was like, cool, right, let's get it done, type of thing.
Wow. No, I think it's that's good, because I think it can be a double-edged sword. I get it. I've been in situations where, say you go out on a night out or what have you, and you meet someone, and instantly almost you warm to them. There's the energy aspect, that's one thing, but when you've got shared lived experiences, so you don't know this yet, but my mum used to live in Battersea, so Wandsworth, Battersea, round the corner essentially, and similarly Council House. And I didn't know this about you, but when we met, I was like, I relate. And so if there was a job going, I think you really have to work hard not to just go with because I relate to you, therefore I'm going to hire you, and have some technical assessments in there based on what you need people to do when they come on board, which it sounds like you've got to. So yeah, no, super insightful, and something for leaders out there who are looking to hire and bring in that diversity based on the skills they need rather than anything else, isn't it, really?
Yeah, you can't, if you hire from the same pools, you get the same results. So it's kind of, I'm always a bit of an outlier in terms of, actually, let's do something a little bit different, a little bit quirky, and see, sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't. But, why not? The only thing I'm going to lose is time. It's like, so it's like, right, let's go to the process and just see how it works.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's coming back to some of the thoughts that I had around your career journey. So management and leadership, and I know those, they're not to me, they're not the same. Some people use the terms interchangeably, but they feature really heavily in your journey. Was that something that came naturally to you? So from the get-go, you stepped into roles of management, then moved into leadership, or how did it come about? This is the question I'm asking.
Very good question. I think because of the sports background, I was always kind of a natural leader amongst men in motivational speeches, and I even do it for my kids' netball teams now. But it's more of I just got my head down and works, and I think I'm more of a leader. So the leader, that's, you know, the analogy of a leader pulls with you, and the management pushes, you know, sits on top and wants you everyone to do it. Because I kind of lead from the front, it's a hybrid system. Because for the last 15 years, I've been working in startups where, you know, that to sit on your kind of throne and go, yes, minions deal with this, it doesn't really work, because there's always gaps of people that you need and stuff to do. But the management style has been, you know, understanding. I've had to learn a lot from HR over the years, because some of the things I could say 10 years ago, I can definitely not say now, kind of thing, which is interesting. But at the same time, I say how it is sometimes. You know, if you're not performing, or you know, everyone's going to have their bad days, but ultimately, you're here for a job. You're here to do a job. You know, this is your work family, but get it done. Get it done. You know, I'm not here to, you know, have dead wood and drag people along with me. I'm here to win, and if you want to win, get on my path.
Yeah, no, I mean, you see this in leaders on the sports field. If I think of like the likes of Alex Ferguson, for example, he comes to mind. In the business world, like Ray Dalio, he comes to mind, where the bar is set at a level, and to be part of that team is to be constantly and never-endingly striving towards not just excellence, but going beyond that with innovation, because like doing what we did yesterday is not going to get us ahead of the competition. Someone's coming. There's always someone coming. So I love that. And actually, putting you on the spot a little bit, if I was to, and I'm not going to do this, but just for fun, if I was to speak to any one of your team and ask them, how would you describe Gareth in 3 words? What might some of them say?
Passionate, relaxed, and focused.
So passionate, relaxed, and focused. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to email quickly just now and see if that comes back.
Emails GDPR.
No, I like that. So there's the passion in there, which, you know, we talked about. Being relaxed. How does that come into? Because I've got to be honest, I wouldn't have expected you to say relaxed.
I don't sweat the little things. So, you know, it's post-COVID. It's like, you know, if you half an hour late, or if you want to work from home, or you want to work at 2 o'clock in the morning, or want to work from abroad, I'm not gonna go, oh my God, I want you in the office. No, you're an adult. Get it done. That's why I've got you here, kind of thing. I'm task orientated versus, oh, I need to see you in the office, this, that, and the other kind of thing. That's where it comes from. Like, I'm not relaxed on lots of stuff, but there's little things that are just, you know, if it's going to, you know, if you can miss the rush hour because you just, you know, you don't like the tube, right, come in. If you're going to work late, fine. But as long as you make up that time or you get it done, I don't, you know, I'm results orientated. If your results are down, then you need to do something else, but get it done.
Yeah, no, that's powerful stuff, because there's much being said and written about this return to the office post-COVID, and, you know, CEOs thinking that will be the way it goes, or wanting it to be the way it goes. And I can understand both sides of the coin. You know, if you've got offices that are expensive, that are out there, that are vacant, or mostly vacant, partially vacant, you want to utilize those
absolutely
their liabilities. On the flip side, we've come to adjust our lives accordingly, as the humans do, to take on care and responsibilities, find time for ourselves, dare I say it, you know, in terms of well-being and all the rest of it. So there is that conflict. But I've come to see that people want autonomy, like whether you're working on your own or for someone, there is that desire for autonomy, to feel that you can make the call wherever you are on the hamster wheel to do what you need to do. And I think leaders that get that, they get something back in return from the right people. I'm not going to say that
not from everyone.
You probably got some stories to tell me about people you've given that leeway to that really probably shouldn't have had it. But anyway,
but that's enough rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, No, I love that. And we talked a bit about some of the sort of key lessons and the growth journey that you had. And I was really nosy, but also fascinated to just delve into being someone who's evolved within various organizations that you talked us through at the beginning. What are your guiding principles when it's come to taking up, or in fact starting a new opportunity? Like,
I think for me, it's one of the things I always say is that a passion. I have a passion for renewable energy, and it always has to be there. And I love the process of what we have to go through. It's a very long lead cycle for us.
Yeah.
So there's not that gratification in 3 months kind of thing. Start something and finish something. You know, some of my stuff is ongoing over years, if not multiple years. But when I look at a new opportunity, it's the direction. So I forgot to mention that I've started a charity called IntoNetZero to get people from diverse backgrounds into the energy industry. I don't have time, but I have to make time to put that ladder down, because when I'm in the industry, I don't see many people that I can see, oh, you know what, that's someone I need to talk to, because it's usually very biased towards a certain demographic. And when people see someone like me, they're like, oh, hang on a minute, this guy's different. And I need a train of people that look or feel or come from the same background as me to kind of go, yeah, they can make a massive impact in this world. Starting in the UK, but then, you know, on a global stage. But to go back to the question, it's kind of like, I see it and I'm like, right, is it viable? Because I don't do, like, I get offered quite a few things like projects or advisory roles and stuff like that. But if I can't see an end game to it, I'm like, there's no point of wasting my time, because I'm going to waste your time and my time. So it's about achievable outcomes. So I essentially always try to commit to something that I know that I can get done. But I feel I can get done. Yeah, there may be, like, recently found, you know, the government have changed rules or policies. That's something beyond my control. But I can only control my controllables. So that's what I always focus on. Of like, actually, I've got an understanding. I know what's going on. Yes, I can get this done. Yeah, that's me. I've got the contacts, and I've got an amazing network of people now that I can kind of lean on to go, right, I'm doing this. Who do you know that I can bring in to help me to get this done? And they're like, yeah, go and talk to this person. Go talk to that person.
Yeah. So I'm hearing intentionality is one.
Yes.
A definite belief that it is within your capabilities, but I suppose also interest, because you talked about passion as well. And then third, collaboration comes out for me, like that network of people that you know you can call upon to support the agenda that you take on, some things. And thank you for sharing that, because I think for people trying to make sense of which way to go, especially like those coming out now, where there were jobs that we could do that no longer exist now, you know, already, just through to technological advances and the way that certain market segments are moving. But that's really impactful to think really about intention, think about your capabilities and your interests, but also look to collaborate. Because yeah, I think if you want to go fast, go by yourself, but if you want to go further, team sport, you always go together, right? You always
Absolutely.
Go together.
And one of my cousins, he always says this: your network is your net worth. So look after your network. And there's loads of people that isolate themselves and kind of don't mingle, don't talk. But I'm just generally inquisitive about what people do, because you never know when they've talked about that. Go and connect with that person. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, connecting people.
Yeah,
connecting people. I do love that. It's probably a whole other episode, but I have another word that I don't like as well as old is the word network itself. I think what for me, I've talked about this before, is it's about building relationships with like-minded but not like-minded people with values, because I feel that sometimes you go onto, like, you know, LinkedIn or wherever, people are like, oh, you got to have a network, you got to have a network. But I feel that encourages sometimes a transactional approach, you know, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I like what you've got to talk about. I want to know what you've got to talk about. Then actually, am I interested in you? Then do I really want to invest in it? Way before you have to ask, or you even want to ask about something, you know, it's more, yeah, that connection of shared souls. That's where I'm at with it, really. Does that speak to you as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's fascinating. Like, when I go to, say, my wife's events, like it's interior design, and I'm the only energy guy in the room, everyone wants to talk to me. But it's vice versa. Like if I take out to one of my events, everyone wants to talk to her, because it's the, when you talk to your own network, it's like we all kind of know something similar. It's just going to be different degrees of knowledge. But when it's something completely different, it's like, oh, that's fascinating. And all of a sudden you're the belle of the ball type of thing.
Yeah.
So it is a fascinating thing.
I think that speaks to the places where you go and the people that you hang around with, because I think sometimes it's not always the case. I think people would see you there and be like, oh, let me talk to Gareth because I want to get into the energy. I want him to do something. But it speaks to the people that you and Alex hang around with, that they're interested in the opposite of what they have, because they're open-minded. And I think more open-mindedness right now would be good for the planet. More open-mindedness.
100%.
We'll dive into that. But look, we're making some fantastic progress. And thank you for sort of sharing the sort of leadership journey to a degree and your guiding principle. Obstacles come up. I call them life quakes. If they're big enough, they register high on the Richter scale, in terms of shaking your foundation and having you not sleeping and questioning who you are. And those are the big life quakes. But obstacles come up, I guess. And it would be remiss of me not to ask you what some of, if not some of, one of the biggest obstacles you are really proud to have overcome from Genesis to current day.
I think that there is many. It's a great question, by the way. There's many of these obstacles, but the reality is I'm a big black guy with an accent, like a London accent, that talk to hedge funds and all of this kind of stuff. I get it all the time. They're like, So when I actually throw some knowledge down, they're like, oh, you actually do know what you're talking about. So it's the constant obstacle. So now, like, to me, sitting on panels and actually chairing panels now to kind of, and I'm talking some heavyweights in the room, and they're going, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay then. So it's that's the obstacles of me just building up my profile to show me as a subject leader within my industry, that I've had to come over, and like having a startup in the energy world and talking to, give an example, my first contracts that I did for Line Jump, it was to buy power from a farmer, effectively, that used it's called anaerobic digestion. So loads of stuff goes into this big slurry kind of thing, and the methane gas burned, and you burn the gas and you get money for it. I'm, fresh from a corporate life, driving a nice car, blah blah blah. Turn up to his farm in a suit and shoes. Lucky I had some boots in the boot. And I'm like, whoa. So he's walking me around the farm, and I'm like, what the hell? And it was just like, yeah, he sat me at his kitchen table. You got the kids screaming, the wife having a go, the dog's barking, and I'm there trying to negotiate a 7-figure deal. I'm like, okay. And he let me in the house. We negotiated hard, got it done. Got it done. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of one of just, that's a big obstacle, because it wasn't an environment that I knew. But now it's like, you just kind of send the right people to the right people. You know what I mean? Make sure that they can understand each other. But with the world that I deal with, it's mostly finance people that are trying to get something from the knowledge that I've got. And I'm not a finance person, but I understand the numbers. And I think that's one of the big obstacles is, ultimately I've turned from a builder to a financer for the kind of how I've done my career. And even though I know the finance, I don't have a finance background. So they're like, well, we can't lend it to you because you haven't got a finance background. Well, I've just built you this model and I understand what's going on, and I've kind of de-risked this whole project. And I'm like, actually, no, that doesn't make sense now. So, it's those barriers of the kind of unconscious bias, but actually when you kind of throw some knowledge down, then they're like, actually, you know what's going on. And it's, does it fit the profile of that particular lender at that particular time?
Yeah, that's environmental considerations, challenges comes up. And I'm going to steal this phrase, send the right people to the right people so they can understand each other. I think that's powerful. And some organizations get it, where they're trying to diversify their workforce so they can speak to customers of their value proposition. They do get it. Others we say less about. We say less about. But I love what you said there. And I think just to really delve a bit deeper on the topic of going back to conversations where you have to prove yourself, essentially. You know, you walk into the room, and I guess within the first 15 seconds there, I can imagine, because I've done it, they go, and then they're like, you don't look like, you don't sound like what I'm expecting. And with your name, different to my name, they won't know before they meet you.
That was one of the unconscious bias that my mum called me Gareth, because she was trying to integrate with society.
Right.
And it was like, right, have a name that on the piece of paper, you don't know who I am. And same things kind of follow for our kids that we've named them. We've named them kind of neutral names, you know, because it's just like, we don't want that unconscious bias, because there's been many studies about that, and still ongoing now, about a name on a piece of paper and the rejection rates that you get. And to be rejected on a name, not your talent, it's just like, well, what the hell, you know? So that's the like, one of the stories was, I was, you know, when I was interviewing for jobs many I think a couple decades ago, like I'm sitting in the reception, suit on, looking sharp, you know, doing my thing, and they were like, Gareth, and they went to the cleaner, the dude's cleaning with a mop, it's like, are you Gareth? And I was like, no, that would be me. And I was like, yeah. And then another incident, I was in I remember I was in Waterloo, and we was having a meeting with someone, and because I said I got a Jamaican heritage, because like, where are you from? I'm like, London. No, where you really from? Roehampton, because that's where I was born. No, where you really where's your family heritage from? I was like, oh, Jamaica. I was like, and then he started doing this really bad Jamaican accent, and I was like, look, number one, that's the world's worst Irish accent I've ever heard. But number two is, you know, I'm here to do business, not make friends. Let's get this done, kind of thing. And he just shut him up, and he was like, oh, and he was kind of, oh, you got a bit chip on the shoulder. I just walked out. You know, it's like, when you own a business, you can be very more direct. Like if I worked for someone at the time, it'd have been you know, I would have had to code switch and just be, okay, yeah, this is all funny and jokes. But I was like, I don't need to deal with people's crap or people's unconscious bias anymore. And that's the beautiful area that we're getting into. So, you know, you deal with me or you don't, you know, there's plenty of people that you can deal with. And, you know, I have targets, but at the same time, I don't have to deal with people that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, that is something. Because the question I wanted to ask, which you've kind of started to segue into, is what is it like to show up in spaces where you're not usually seen and continually, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I am so
comfortable to knock down the perceptions. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm so comfortable being uncomfortable now. You know, I don't even see it. Me personally, the other people see it. Like I was speaking in Italy last year. I've spoken Spain. You know, I've done different parts of Europe speaking about this kind of stuff, and it's kind of like I'm so used to it that I'm just like I'm not really that bothered now. I'm kind of, you know, I'm numb to it now. I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, here we go. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they say nothing at the beginning, but when they're sitting on the stage, you're like, oh, and then they hear what I got to say, and they're like, oh. And then after, it's like, oh, everyone wants to be your friend.
So for anyone listening to this who's not got to the point where they can have the privilege and privilege to be able to get up from a situation where they feel it's just not going to work out, what advice would you give them to stay the course, you know, in terms of being in spaces, whether that's in financial services, whether that's the legal profession, whether it's in energy, you know, wherever they are and whatever they identify as? Because you know, for me, this is not our experience of being othered is not universal to us. You know, Afro-Caribbean, different to someone who may be LGBTQ plus, different to a woman, but I think there's some universal principles around being in spaces where you are other and how you navigate that. And I just love to say or hear from you, like how would you advise people to really push through that, you know?
Every organization is different. So this is my one, because I don't have large organizations, like I would say, if I was in a large organization, is like, you know, looking at your mentors, who's getting you in the room, who's kind of talking the good stuff about you behind in the closed rooms. That in a larger organization. In a smaller one where you kind of run it, you just got to suck it up. Unfortunately, suck it up and get it done. Is either do you want the business or don't you want the business? And it's kind of, you know, for a small entrepreneur, it's kind of like they're hard decisions. And once you start having those hard decisions, you've got to kind of go, is that the right clientele for me? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to be happy working with this type of demographic if I feel like this, I'm getting treated like this all of the time? That is the big, difficult decision, because fortunate enough for in energy industry, I'm like, it's quite neutral, if you know what I mean, because it's like, ultimately it's a financial decision. It's not a, oh, I'm based on this, that, and the other. It's more of a, oh, they can get it done. Right. Not a problem. You've de-risked it. You've done all the stuff, but you've ticked all the boxes. Fantastic. Other industries, not so much. So it's a very difficult question, because say for finance, fine. For law, you know, is it, you know, will you be biasly conscious that you want that kind of person? Is in a medical profession, again, you get all of these different industries, and it's so difficult. But having, as someone coming through the ranks, having some sort of mentor would help. But if you're at the top of your kind of profession, you kind of just got to be a bit bolshy, and kind of just keep on, you know, hammering away and choosing a new path for yourself, because, you know, I don't see another way. If you're senior, if you're junior, you've got the people that are senior that should in theory help you. But if you're senior, I just see it as you've got to be as belligerent as you was before, and kind of just start pushing through again and again and again. And it will change, but it depends on your I don't know what word to use, but on your barometer, on your kind of your peace barometer. If you're prepared to take that kind of crap because you're doing it for the money, then great. But if not, you know, do you change to something else, or change to a different firm that you can do better, and you protect your peace a lot more?
Brilliant advice. So you've got mentorship at one side, you've got resilience coming through on the other side, just because, I mean, you know, when we're training for sports, you know, my thing's cycling, your thing's being American football. I know you do still play football as well. The more you practice, the easier this becomes. And so I always like to go back a bit, or reflect a bit on what came before now, because as we speak now, this is the sum of some experience, not age, some experience that we've got and we've gathered over the time. So that's brilliant. We skipped over, and this is criminal of me, IntoNetZero, which I love it. I love it. And I've spoken to Jenny Hewitt, who's leading that for you. And what a vibe. We need to talk about it. You talked a bit about it, but what is IntoNetZero here to do in terms of the mission, and how can people get involved in, even, I don't know, supporting it or being part of it or accessing it, really? I
appreciate you, for number one, for coming back to that point. So IntoNetZero is at the moment, not for profit. We're looking for charity status organization, and it was founded by myself, Bina Sharma, and Anthony Hart. So Bina Sharma does carbon capture, and Anthony Hart is the head of social impact at Shell Energy. And we brought in Jenny as the CEO to lead, you know, on a day-to-day basis and kind of lead the effort. It's an ever-evolving beast, but effectively there's three main pillars. We've got education, employment, and entrepreneurship. The education bit is to kind of, you know, there's all these learning hubs around the country, but so how do we get people to know, understand what's going on, get them into kind of a profession or the tools, and do and learn. And that's people from diverse backgrounds, whether that be ethnic, social, neurodiverse, all of these kind of ones. So it's quite broad. And what the reason behind this is, if we want to hit a kind of net zero target by 2030, we need another 400,000 people. Now, by going to the same places, we're never going to get to that target. You know, we're struggling to reach that target now. So it's kind of like, how do we do that? But that leads to the pillar two. Pillar two is employment, you know, job boards, getting people jobs and kind of getting them through the process and understanding it. And where this kind of is quite cool is it overlaps with all the other charities that we've met at the House of Commons. But it's like the guy Michael at 10,000 interns. It's kind of like those interns where do the people that didn't get in go? Come to IntoNetZero. Have you thought about energy? You know, so it's not just about doing one thing. And I'm trying to work with the NFL. I'm trying to work with all of these different organizations to bring people into scale like this, just get a noise about this. And that is really key thing, is getting people jobs in the industry. And it can be from legal, it can be from construction, it can be from engineering, it could be from admin. There's so many jobs within the industry that need to be done that people say, oh, there's one. But you're going to need people to put the lines in the high ground, people to dig up the road to put the lines in as well, all of this kind of stuff. And then the third one is entrepreneurship. So that's where we kind of gone full cycle. We've educated them, we've got them a job, and now if they want to start their own business in their community, how do we help them develop that business and push it through? So kind of be like a seed fund or angel funder to them. Not quite there yet, because we're still trying to do the first 2 phases, but that's the kind of the overall goal for us, and basically work with organizations across the country. So at the moment, I think we've got 4 programs, a couple in Scotland, Birmingham and Sussex, to kind of go, right, this is how it's going to start here, here's how we go. So people that want to get involved, just reach out, Gareth at IntoNetZero.org, and see what you can do. But it's all energy related or energy utility related. So anything energy or construction or utility related, that's all that kind of stuff. It just, you know, it's about feeding people into the industry. So we've got staff to build stuff. As a nation, we're not the greatest at with the service space, but you know, some people need to get their hands dirty.
Yeah, look at this. So education, employment, and entrepreneurship, that is the holy trinity right there. And I wasn't lying when I said more impactful than Idris. He may say something to me different, but this is what I mean. This is why these conversations are necessary, because we don't need to fit in the box, and you're just demonstrating that so beautifully with the fact you have a job, you have a job. KOE Group is work in itself. You have a wife, you have these 2 wonderfully talented daughters that are doing the most, and then you're like, what can I do to help others coming through, you know? And I think whatever happens, 2 things will happen for me. I'll definitely share your contact details, or the details of IntoNetZero as well, and I will track down Jenny to come and give us some more detailed.
Fascinating individual she is as well.
Yeah, she's just just great, absolutely great. I didn't even know when I first met her the connection. Then we connected, and I was like, hang on a minute. And it's this idea that birds of a feather really do flock together. So I can't wait for her to come and talk. And obviously, being a woman of color as well, in a leadership role, you know, you're doing the work. You are collectively doing the work. So if I had a hat, I'd take off and I'd be like, but you know, you and I aerodynamic as it goes at the moment. Aerodynamic.
Keep it real.
So fantastic. So I wanted to ask you now, because this is the way you've built this is great, because you've got day job, you've got the charity and the giving back aspect. With the various roles that you have, the family that we've talked about, and the extracurricular activities, that you still play football?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's football. Which is really good.
So the extracurricular commitments that you've got, how do you manage balance?
Very good question. Everyone says you've got 24 hours in a day. 8 of them or 7 of them, you need to be sleeping of them. So balance wise, like, it's about routines. Like, fortunate enough that I get to work from home quite a lot. So I can do a school run, go to the gym, then start work. But it's all about making time for yourself as well. Like, what I love about playing sport is I can forget all of my woes for the day for that half hour or 2 hour piece, whether I'm playing 5-a-side football or full side or cricket or whatever I'm playing. You go on the pitch, you can just forget about everything, which is absolutely beautiful. But that's balance for me, you know. And Alex has always been a sports widow from the first day I met her, kind of thing. She's always known I'm going to play some sort of sport, and that's how I live in a house of women, that I get my testosterone out, kind of thing. So it's like, great, that's done. But for the kids, I try to get involved with their stuff as well. So I go to the kids with their netball, or, you know, take them to the station, or do dance, not dance with them, but I'll go and see as much as possible, just to kind of show that I'm involved and I want to be involved. And Like when they want to do off-season training, I'm like, right, I'm here. Let's do it. Let's go and do some hill sprints. Let's go and do some jogging. Let's go do some stretching or stretch together. So we try to interact as a family to make sure that I may not be the best at what they need, but I'm there and I'm just present, basically, for them, so they can see me as a present father, which is something that, you know, work-life balance is tough, but at the same time, it's, you know, this is what it's about. And then it's also trying to find time with the wife to say that, you know, we're still a couple to do couple stuff. You know, we do have kids and our kids are older. You know, one's an adult this year, like 18, and I'm like, wow. So it's kind of, it's trying to find that balance between all of them. And sometimes it's not easy, you know, sometimes it's not easy, but other times, and I think the girls see that we make an effort, and when we make an effort, it's there, you know, we can get it done. So it's tough, but you just got to find a time, you know, not only for yourself but for the family. And you can't be there all the time, but I think I've missed 5 or 6 events for the girls over their lifetime so far, and that's just due to me being abroad or something like that. But otherwise, you know, I will schedule it in, and they know that I'm a big about scheduling. If you don't schedule it in, it doesn't exist.
If absolutely, and those are some really great takeaways, and reminds me of whenever you get on a plane, you know, and you pay attention, they always do that demonstration at the beginning before it takes off, right? And for me, when they talk about put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help others, that's been a journey for me to get to that point. I can't lie, because I don't know why or how, or maybe it's environment, maybe it's conditioned. I always thought that love was self-sacrifice. So I have to give all of myself and everything to everyone else around me. But what you've spoken about there does chime, because I actually think that oxygen mask needs to go on yourself. Guilt-free, hopefully with communication and understanding from a partner that gets it. And happy Gareth is going to bring happiness back into the home, right? And being present and switching off with your sport. I mean, this is why we're brothers from another mother. I mean, you taller and more dashing, but this, I feel you. I absolutely feel you on that. So thank you for sharing that. And, you know, I wanted to, this wasn't in my mind, but as you said it, I know it, that you and Alex have been together for eons, married for a long time, 2 great kids. Some say that it's difficult to do entrepreneurship, both of you, because both of you running your own empires and have a family and be doing couple stuff, like you said. Like, I dare ask you for the tips, hints, tricks, if there are 2 or 3 that you could share that have kept you together, because not everyone makes it. People fall at hurdles 1, 2 to 7, 10, whatever, but you're still there, and hanging out with you both. I felt the love between, you know, you're still friends. So I'd just love to share with anyone that listens to this, like, how you can do it all and make it work, you know?
Look, it's not easy, but I think it's something that we both worked on, in terms of we've got it's having separate spaces, if you know what I mean, to say you do you do us, but we will, you know, cross collaborate. So if we both work from home, we're fortunate enough to have 2 offices, so it's kind of like we'll sit down for lunch kind of thing, but then go back our own way. Like, she has her events, I have sport kind of thing. So we're not strangers together, but we constantly talk about business. And, you know, like, she's been running a charity for 5 years now, so I'm asking her questions about certain things within the charity. I've been running business, so she asks me questions about how to do this within businesses and recommendations and stuff like that. So we're a constant flow of energy and information both ways. And, you know, it's kind of like she's creative, I'm engineering. You know, the 2 minds fit together. You know, it finds a balance. But yeah, it's about listening. You know, I kind of be present, listen, and then, you know, it's not going to be wild, passionate all the time, going here, going there, everywhere type of thing, just to do stuff. It's more of a, we got bills to pay, we got stuff to do, we got to do school runs, we've got parties to go to. You know, you go that one, I'll do this one kind of thing. You know, and then it's to kind of find that balance. But yeah, it's compromise, and I think that's where it's been the most. You know, something that I can't, like me not playing sport, that was a theme for a couple of years when the kids were younger, and the workaround was Zara, who was a baby at the time, like in a pram, would come to football with me, and Alex would take Ava up to central London to do the Royal Ballet School. So I literally had the wags at my football team feeding Zara a bottle on the sideline, kind of thing. But that was a balance. It was a balance kind of thing. It was like, I'm not going to stop playing football. The kid's there. And then Zara got to the point of, 3-4 years doing it with me, running on the pitch and trying to fight with me. It was just, that. So you know what I mean? That's the kind of balance, and it was hard, and it's not always been easy. But
No,
we've got there. You know what I mean? And it was set great foundations for the kids, and whatever they do with their lives, at least we can be proud of where we set them from.
Yeah, you know what? I have to say kudos to that, because I think, we talked about at the beginning, coming from the single parent household that you came from, and people have a choice, right? They have a choice. You can carry on and repeat the patterns that you've seen, or without guidance, you can listen to that inner wisdom and choose a path based on either what you did have or you didn't have, but it works for you. And I see that in what you just discussed and described, because you've got communication, you've got collaboration, you've got compromise in there. And then there's also the non-negotiables. What makes Gareth, and some may say, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that, but it works. Like, it's working. There's no resentment because of the stuff that you don't get to do. And I salute that. Absolutely. This lessons in leadership. I think it needs to be holistic, because it isn't just about show up, rock up, lead, pull people behind you and smash the targets and KPIs that you've got, OKRs that you've got. It is the life that is around that. And I think you've shared some nuggets. I will definitely be watching this again. But thank you so much. I'm mindful, like, we've just flown through.
It does flow. So, right, one thing you missed is what I kind of work. I've got a methodology that I work with. So I've got a board right next to me. So, my thing is paralysis by analysis. You know what I mean? It's, if I've got to muster it, then make the decision, get it done. But then I've got my kind of rules of my own game. And number one is find my fear. Then I've got to have a heart of a hustler. And then it's constructing the right crew. Then knowing my value, evolve or die. And then it's the power of perception. And then finally it's learning from my L's, or learning from my losses, basically. That's how I kind of methodology that I kind of affirmation that I kind of go for, and how when I build stuff, and that's how I try to build it.
Yeah, I want that one more time, because this is brilliant. This is, for me, I was going to ask you towards the end, like, what's the motto you live by, but you've got an actual framework. So hit me again. And this is some of it's actually nicked from 50 Cent, actually, from his book, but I loved how it kind of flowed. But it was find your fear, heart of a hustler, constructing the crew, know your value, evolve or die, the power of perception, and learn from your losses. That is powerful. It was so good it needed to be said twice. And the learn from your losses bit comes out loud and proud everywhere, because some people will not try for fear of failure. But I don't know whether you get to this point. I can feel it, where I embrace it, because it's not, for me, it's not a loss. It's actually a learning opportunity. Absolutely. And that's where I only peaked this recently. When I look back, some of the biggest growth lessons have come from when something go the way I thought it was supposed to go. Because I had to dig in, like, that's what's your creativity, is your character. Like, who are you? Are we just going to just curl up in a ball and go, oh my God, this is it, it's done? Or are you going to rise like the phoenix from the flames and say, let's have it, let's have it. So I love
always remember, the best captains are at sea, not at the port.
Motion, movement, exploration.
But
so many,
the unvariabilities outside of in the sea. It could be waves, it could be we see what's going on in Jamaica now, but all of that kind of stuff is the best captains are out there getting it done and making the decisions in real time, rather than let's be safe, let's sit at the port, let's just wait around and see what happens, kind of thing.
I'm with you 100%, because that is the comfort zone all over, and we're so complicated human beings. On one hand, we're creatures of comfort and convenience. On the other hand, I could pick up my phone right now. It now does so many things. When I first got, and you probably the same sort of age, the first phone I had, dude, I could speak for 20 minutes on this thing, and I was gassed. Now, emails, social media, banking, photography, better than the camera that I spent money on to buy, the digital SLR. You know, so we also want to evolve, and I think the comfort zone is great, but nothing wonderful grows there. And so, like you say, when you really go out to see, as you have done in the name of energy, lyrics coming out now, you know, you find your way, and you've been finding your way beautifully. And I'm so glad that we got to do this. And I think we need a part 2.
Man, I'm always here.
Because there's some real themes there that with more time and attention spans of the people that will watch this later on, we could delve into and really go down a level or two. But I just really want to say thank you so much. But before I go, it's crazy. October is almost done. 2026 is literally around the corner, frightfully. What is something that's non-work related that you would love to do when 2026 lands, just so I can get excited for you, or come, because I'm involved if you call me?
I would have liked to go to Trinidad Carnival again. But the guy that I go with, who's from Trinidad, he couldn't get time off because of the profession that he does. So it's finding something like that, because I went a couple of years ago and it was amazing. But it's finding something like that to go. Yeah.
When is it?
Near Valentine's Day. So February, like mid-February.
Have your people call my people, which is me, basically. Just call me. And we can make something happen. Because my chief vibes officer, if this, I've never been to the Trini Carnival, and yes, if you need a stand-in substitution.
Well, we staying at his family house, you see. So that was the reason why I was like, I need to find an alternative. But I think the second alternative is I want to have a good cricket season, because it's first time in 20 years I've played like half a season just gone. So I'm getting back into it now. So I'm like, right, I want to have a good cricket season ahead as well.
Brilliant. So no doubt there about the richness in your interest, because travel vibes on the one hand, sporting excellence and pushing yourself, which is never in doubt, on the other hand. Maybe I'll come and watch cricket. It's not my thing. I was absolutely useless at it. But I'll come and watch that for sure. But Gareth, honestly, this has been a real pleasure. It's flown. Thank you for sharing your insights so candidly and honestly and openly. And I'm sure, without a doubt, it'll be inspirational to many more than myself. So thank you so much for doing it.
Anytime, man.
All right. Have a great day, and love to the family. I'll see you soon as well.
See you soon. Right. Yes, definitely. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.